Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So we're working on the F-150 today. This is something that is very, very common on these trucks. So what happens is the window goes down, the window doesn't come back up. This truck has a little bit of that problem. So see, it goes down, but it would kind of like clutch over there. So you can see it thump, 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 thump. So what that is basically the regulator for the window has a main gear and then has three little plastic ball bearings around it. So there's two ways to fix it. You can replace the plastic ball bearings with new plastic ball bearings, or you could use nuts. So the reason that it's ill-advised to use the nuts is because if you were to stick your arm in here and put the window up, technically it should stop and push through the clutch. Whereas if you use the steel nuts, it should essentially just continue to push and can actually put too much pressure. So that's the whole idea behind the plastic bearings or plastic clutch inside the window regulator. We're going to go ahead and replace those pieces in this truck here, and we're going to use the plastic pieces again. I have used the nuts in other windows where I just wanted it to go up. I didn't really care about it because it was either a junk window or a junk regulator, and we were just trying to make it work for the time being. But for something like this, we're going to use the plastic because that's really the right way to do it. So we're going to go ahead and show you how to disassemble the door panel, get the door panel off, and then disassemble this front door and get the regulator assembly out, and then show you how to repair that. So this door panel has a couple extra screws that somebody decided to put in there. But we're going to go ahead by removing the switch panel here. Now, the switch plate is broke on this truck. I have the fix for it, which is this guy here. So we may end up putting this in too while the door panel's off. But we got to take the switch plate off here and then remove the three extra screws and then the screws along the bottom. And there is also a screw here and some extras up here as well. So let's get these out of here. Like I said, those are the extra ones, so we can take off the other ones now. So that was the wrong screw. This one's missing. Also the wrong screw. Missing. And then also the wrong screw. So this is probably the wrong screw too. Hey, for once the right one. And then this actually just is going to pop off of here because it's already broken. Now, if you have power window or power mirrors here, the easiest thing to do is take a pry tool and pry the plug off, because the plug would be right here, and then take off this switch plate bezel. Now, I take the switch plate bezels off because it makes it a lot easier to get this down in the door panel. And doing that is literally just three screws here, also Phillips. Just take these three screws out, and then you can pull these apart. Now here's your switches and your switch cover bezel here. Now the screw's still in here because it's obviously not doing anything anyway. But if you wanted to change these switches, it's as easily as popping them out. So these ones are pretty tight. Sometimes you got to just pry them off, and that's how you can change these. So we'll just stuff this guy down in here, which makes life a lot easier. And then we have the screw left in the grab handle here. So at this point, this door panel is loose. Doesn't feel like there's any Christmas trees in here. You just kind of like lift it up off. Now at this point, you have a door handle to contend with. So you just pull it forward there. And then your interior light, which you can just change here. So that's also not the right plug. So somebody has changed that plug for some reason. So now we have the door panel off of here. And you can see that the mounting Christmas trees here are all broken off, which is no surprise. So we have a very odd repair here. Not sure why they did that. We do have a slightly loose door handle here. We'll pull the handle off of there maybe a little bit later and inspect and see if it needs a reinforcement plate. However, realistically, this door needs to be changed because somebody broke into it at some point. So we may end up changing this door at some point. However, we are now going to be in the process of removing some more stuff here. So we're going to end up putting this window down, and we're going to be taking out this A-pillar window here, the wing window here, because to get the regulator out, we're going to have to take the glass out and the A-pillar out. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're actually going to put the window down. Okay, so now that we have the window down, we can go ahead and start removing the wing window here. The wing window is very simple to get out. There is two 7mm bolts in the top here. If you have an earlier truck, there'll be a Phillips, and then you have this one 11mm bolt here. Now we do have the paddle style mirrors, the Nemo mirrors, the sport mirrors, whatever you want to call them. So we may have to end up taking the mirror off to get the wing window out, but I don't believe we have to. We'll see once we get into this. So we got our two 7mm screws out of there. Now we can take this guy out. That's 11mm. So at this point, just pull the seal out a little bit. This is always fun. There we go. Then I'll just pull the seal out of this to get it out of the way. Usually I'll bring them this way, but this one didn't want to come out that way. Somebody did some damaging to this door here, which is why I had said that we may end up having to change this door at some point in this truck's life, unless we can get this fixed. It looks like somebody put some silicone on this seal, which I don't understand why, because the rubber should be doing the sealing. But we'll end up kind of covering that here a little bit later. But so we got the wing window out here. We'll just let this seal hang. And now we can take our window here and just slide it forward at the bottom and pull it up out. So whenever you get a bad painter, you find painter's tape. So now that we have the window out, the wing window out, you can see we have a nice open area here. We'll just put this over to the side there out of the way. And now we have to focus our attention on getting the window regulator out. Sometimes you can get the window regulator out without removing this armrest support here. However, generally that's not the case. So what we're going to end up doing here is I'm going to go ahead and remove this armrest brace, and then we're going to go ahead and start removing the window regulator to get it out of the door. So we'll have to punch these centers of these rivets out, and we'll drill these rivets out. So we punch the center of these two rivets out. They can kind of suck because you got to hold the door. Now we're also going to do the window regulator down here. Now, if you're worried about the centers of these rivets causing you a problem later, you can fish them out with a magnet. They just lay the bottom of the door, basically. So now we're going to drill these rivets out. Now, it doesn't matter how big of a drill bit you use. You just need to use a larger drill bit because basically you're not trying to drill through the rivet. You're just trying to remove the head. So you see it started to spin there. We have the head off. Now you can pull this off, and we can do the bottom one here as well. So with this out of the way, this gives us free rein to get the regulator out. Now before we do that, we're going to unplug the regulator over here. So that's this guy in this little rubber boot. So we'll unplug that, make sure that that's not going to give us any problems, and then drill out these 4 rivets. So we have these 4 drilled out. So you can still see that that is set in there pretty good. The other option we have here is we could actually get a smaller drill bit and drill the middle of this rivet a little bit more, and that'll release some of the tension. So we may end up doing that, but I don't really want to do that because I try not to drill too much into the paint on these. We don't want to drill these holes out any more than they already are. So we may be able to take a punch again and just pound them in. So now we have a window regulator, and we still have to get the rivets out of this here. So we'll get those out of there, and we will go ahead and tear into this. So you can see that they are just exploded on the back here. So we can actually pop these out with a little bit of a screwdriver or a pry tool. But where we want to be is right here. So this is the problem. Now there's 3 screws that hold this thing together. Pretty sure these are 8mm, and we'll take this apart and show you what we're going to be replacing in here. So we have our 3 bolts here. Just remove these. Now you work this off, you can see that you have a gear and you have your regulator here. Okay, So there is a very simple process here. Now we have a Phillips screw right here holding this cover on. We'll have to pop that off. Okay, so the problem I'm running into here is they actually crimped this over. You can see a little bit of a crimp here and a crimp here. Now, not all of these have that. I haven't seen that on every one of them. However, this one apparently has it, so we got to try to like pop that off and bend that crimp back over. So there we go. Just had to get that off of there. We do have a gasket in here, so we try not to destroy that. But see all these pieces in here? So we can take this gear out. Well, it should come out at least. Anyway, so all these little pieces, that is the plastic bushing that is no longer any good here. So you can see that they are just pieces of junk now. But apparently this one has a little C-clip on it. So I was trying to get this gear off, and I've seen where some of these do not have a clip on them, whereas this one apparently does have a clip. It's there. It's very tiny. So I don't even know if I have snap ring pliers that are small enough to take that off of there. Okay, so we got that off of there. Ended up giving it a little bit of a distortion, but it's so small we could probably bend it back into shape here. Set that off to the side, and now at this point this should come out of here. Yeah, there we go. So we have a little washer on top. We have the main gear here, and then we have the actual plastic gear here that has what's left of the plastic bushings. So you can see that this is a very, very simple design. You have a worm gear at the top, which drives the main gear here, and then your metal here drives the actual regulator. And without the bushings, you can see this acts as like a type of clutch. So we're going to go ahead, clean all of the bits and pieces out of this and clean this up a little bit. And we're going to put new bushings in here. So we've gotten everything cleaned up here. You can see we got all the bits and pieces out of here, and we cleaned up the gear and got all the old grease off of there. And we just wiped this out. I didn't spray this with anything. And then we have our new bushings here. These are made by Dorman, and they are what's supposed to replace the pieces that break in here. And actually that's what these used to be. You can see this one's kind of rounded here. So these used to be the bushings, and this is what they used to look like here. But we have to put these guys in, and what guys will do is instead of using these, they will actually use 3/8 or 10 millimeter nuts, stack 2 on top of 2, and shove them in here, and then put the center gear back in. And what that'll do is it makes this whole unit a solid unit. And what it does is if you have an issue where the window is caught or trying to go up, what it'll actually do is it'll strip this gear out instead of breaking the bushings inside. So you can do that. I'm not going to show you how to do that, but this is the right way to fix this with these bushings. So this is a clutch mechanism, so to speak. So that's why we're using the bushings again, the little plastic pieces, because we want this to be able to clutch in case of an emergency. Now we've also cleaned this centerpiece here. We just cleaned all the old pieces out of it, anything that was on it. The outside is kind of grungy looking, but we're not going to get into real crazy detail on getting that cleaned up. Now we do have a white lithium grease here. And basically that white lithium grease should go on the gear here, on this gear in here where these mate, a little bit on the inside here on the shaft, and you don't necessarily need to put any in here. A lot of guys will tell you to put it in here, but you really don't need to because these things are technically supposed to be dry. So we are going to put a little bit of lithium grease. And as you can see, I bought this just for this. I still have to open it up. So now that we've got this opened up here, you don't need to kill this with the grease. You just need a little bit. All right, so that is literally as much as you really need. Now you can put a little bit in the center here for the shaft. And you can put a little bit down here on the base plate, or you can just put a little bit here and just a tiny little bit here. You don't need a whole lot. So we'll slide that in there. And then we're going to take our bushings here. Now the bushings will go down in here like this. Now this is where the fun begins. Now we're going to put a little bit of this grease that we put on the top and put it around here. This is where the fun begins because you have to slide this on. Now each bushing goes in each detent. So sometimes you might have to actually pull this assembly back out to get everything to slide together. So you can see here that you kind of have to manipulate these to go in because it's a very, very tight fit. So I tried putting this together the way that I originally wanted to put this together, and it's just not going to go that way. So this is going to be the next best way. So what you do is you get one started in here, and then you just try to weasel these things in here. I've come to accept the fact that I'm going to get lithium grease all over me. So we have them all started like this. And as you can see, it still doesn't want to go in here. So what we can do is we can actually put this in the vise and give it a squeeze. So we've got our bushings in here still. We're just going to put this in here and give it a little bit of a squeeze. And as you can see there, it pushed it all in and is all together now. And that's why these are really, really nice, because they make a very firm fit. But we're going to go ahead and wipe this back off and give it another greasing. Make sure that there's enough grease on here. So we got this wiped back off. We're just going to put a little bit back on this back piece here. Not going to go crazy with it. We still have a good bit of grease on the edges here, so I'm not too worried about those. And slide it all back together like that. Then we'll put our washer back on here. And now we have our clip here that we kind of mangled, so we have to put this back on. And probably going to take this over and give it a squeeze with some pliers. So we've got our little clip here. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a squeeze, even if we have to get it to bypass itself a little bit there. Basically, you just want it to close up a little bit more. And then, since it decided it wanted to be out around this way, just careful with your pressure here. And it's kind of back in shape. We can slide this back on as well. Now, you don't really need the circlip to put this back on, because you should be able to work it around. But sometimes things don't go as planned. So we worked it around the top there, and then just slid it down evenly with our little pry tool here, and it clicked right back into the groove where it should have been. Now our gasket is still intact here. You want to make sure that you don't have any pieces like this guy sitting on here or in this cover at all. So make sure that's okay. Now there's still a little bit of grease on here from prior, and it doesn't have any pieces in it, so we can go ahead and just use this again. Now, this does go a certain way. And once again, we were talking about the crimped ends here. So just give it a squeeze and it's popped back together here. And then we can go ahead and put our Phillips screw back in. And now we have a rebuilt motor. Now we have to just reinstall everything in reverse order. So we're going to go ahead, put this back on the regulator and get it back in the truck. So before we put this back on, now's the time to pop these pieces of rivet out of here, since we can move this freely here. Just pop out of there very, very easily. Now we want this to be in the down position, so whenever we go to remount the motor, this is all the way down this way, so right against the bumper. So we put this on. We want to make sure that we are putting this in the down position so we don't have to move it again. So this motor only goes on here one way, which is nice. It makes it very, very simple to put back together. So we are just threading into an aluminum housing, so you want to be very careful with these bolts. You don't want to over tighten them or anything like that. So now with this all put back together, we can go ahead and reinstall this into the truck. So we are going to be riveting this back in and not using bolts. So we will be using the rivets like it should be. So before we put our regulator in, I'm actually going to inspect the inside of this door. And there's some crap in there for over the years, so we're going to sweep it out. So we're also going to show you here. You can see that the reinforcement plate here that's in this door, it actually is holding a couple of those rivets that we pounded in. So you want to make sure you try to get those out of there, because those will eventually work down in there and will show up on the outside of the truck. So that's why you always want to check inside your door after you pull these rivets out. Make sure you try to get as much of the stuff out of the door as you possibly can. So they are magnetic because they are steel. We got those two out of there. Basically just fishing in there to make sure we get everything out of this door. I don't want to leave anything in there that doesn't need to be in there. So we've gotten everything out of the door here. So we're going to go ahead and get our regulator put back in and rivet it back into place. You can see that this truck was, well, we know it was from the land of the sun, as Mike would call it. So you can see that the vapor barrier is actually completely disintegrated and is not exactly doing much of anything anymore. So you can see it's no good. It's actually piecing and falling apart. So I'm just going to pull some of it out of here because it obviously isn't doing anything but holding material. So just going to yank some of this stuff out of here so that it doesn't make any more of a mess in the truck, in the door, come out of the door panel whenever you shut the door. So we had some aluminum shavings in there from us drilling the rivets out, and a little bit of dirt that's just accumulated over the years. So I'll sweep this up a little bit later. But we're going to go ahead, get our regulator put back in here, and rivet it back in place. And we can put our armrest support back on as well. So we got two rivets holding it there. This is always the fun part, doing this by yourself. So we got that first one started there. You can see that other one had fallen out. So you basically make sure that all of your holes line up the right because there is more than 4 holes in this regulator. So you can either mark the holes or you can just line them up and install them as they see fit. So you always want to make sure that your regulator is on the rivet before you start shrinking the rivet down. As you can see, it will come off. There we go. Now the type of rivet I'm using actually snaps the shank off, so it actually pushes that extra piece of rivet down in. So I'm actually going to fish those pieces out because we don't want them rolling around in the door. So you can see we got a piece of rivet here. This one was actually laying on top of the window regulator, so that would actually cause us a problem. And then the bottom two went all the way to the bottom of the door here, so we'll have to fish those guys out. So we got one. And there's the other one. So we got all 4 there. Now we need to go ahead and put our armrest brace back on. So we can go ahead and do that now. There is an up and a down to this. So you want to make sure that you put it on the correct way. And the wiring does go behind. So we can actually clip that in there and it'll kind of hold it for us. So this one didn't shoot out, which that's fine. This one also didn't shoot out, which is also fine. So this basically sets in just like the original ones did. So now we have everything reassembled here. We can go ahead and put our glass back in and put our wing window back in. So I'm going to see if I can get this to see for you. So you can see the window regulator slide there, and it'll actually slide into the window track. So that's the idea here, is you put that window down in there, and then you slide it onto that slide. So it'll actually slide in there. Now I can't show you this as I do it because I need my hands to hold the camera and my hands to put the window in. But that gives you the visual of what I'm doing here. So once you get it in your slide down here, basically just make sure that it's in your track on the back side of the door here. Really wish I knew what these guys were thinking when they did this. This is definitely something I'm going to have to look into repairing. But either way, take your window seal and match it up with your angle here, and you can see that this top track will actually run directly in, and just slide it back in, and then it'll go in like so. So when you put your wing window in, you watch me there, went in, turn, and then put it back into its track here. So what you do is you want to make sure that that seal on the outside here, which is this seal here, make sure that it's sealed all the way around the window here, not folded over or anything like that. And then if you're too far down on this seal, you can actually pull it up. And then you also want to make sure that your window seal is actually in your window, which this one is a little bit out. So we are nice and sealed there now. So you want to make sure that the window is actually in this track. And then we can go ahead and bolt the wing window back in. Now it's just a matter of putting the two bolts in here and your one bolt here. I always like to do these top ones first because it pulls the wing window up into the channel, and then we can go ahead and tighten this track here. Now when you do this, you want to make sure that you're back similar to where your old marks were on the paint from the washer of the head. And then in this scenario now, you can go ahead and test your window. Well, perhaps if you plug it in first. Now you can test your window. So you can see the window works great, moves nice and quick. You know, we have no issues with binding or anything like that. So that is how you get your regulator out, replace that clutch assembly, and get it all reinstalled. I've seen guys use bolts and nuts where these rivets are, and to be honest with you, that's a pain. The rivets are so much easier to install. So I hope that this will help you guys out. Now, we're not going to install this door panel because I got to inspect this handle here, which looks to be loose. So I'm going to go ahead and probably pull this off of here. And you know what? I tell you what, we'll just pull it off now and we'll show you maybe what we're going to find here, because you can see how loose that this actually is, and that's not what you want. So basically what you do here is take the handle off. Which this is a dormant handle, so this handle's been broken before. And then you have a bolt in here. And we'll pull this clip out of here. Oh, let me get a tool here because I'm going to show you something. So to get these clips off, this is a little trick that I've learned over the years, is there is a retainer here on the inside. Come on, camera, focus for me here. Right here. So basically what you do is you slide your pick and you pry like this to get that clip to release, and you can slide your clip off. So I'm going to clean some of the grime off of here and show you something here. See those cracks? So that is a crack, that's a crack, and that's a crack. Now that is the reason that this door handle is so loose, because this door is actually flexing. So I actually have this bracket here. I didn't actually intentionally buy it for this truck. I bought it to have as a spare, but I've seen guys try to weld these up, and welding these up doesn't exactly work all the time. But we don't want this to get worse. So I'm going to go ahead and install a door handle reinforcement bracket on here and get that put on, because this truck obviously needs it, and we don't want to be ripping door handles off or ripping the door worse than it already is. So we have our handle reinforcement here, and it literally just goes on like this. So we are actually going to drill these top two holes first. Actually, yeah, we'll drill a top hole first here. Now we're going to use this as an actual template. So we've got that one drilled there. We're basically going to go ahead and do one down here. Now that we've got those two in there, I'm going to go ahead and drill the rest of these holes. Now that we have all these holes drilled, put all the rivets in. So now that we have this all riveted in, we can take this opportunity to reinstall our handle. So you take your clip, here we go. Slide your clip back into place. Take your handle, take the bolt out of it, makes it easier. Now you may have to actually spread this open a little bit depending on how bad your door was actually ripped. So this one's a little bit tight. So I have to open that up a smidge just to get because we have a double thickness of metal there. Take your pliers and just bend it just a little bit. So basically you want that to seat all the way in there and still be able to get your bolt down in here. Helps if you use the right bolt. So we've got our bolt lined up and put in there. We can go ahead and put our door handle on. Now you can see how much sturdier this is. You can see it does not wiggle at all. Nice solid movement here. So that will fix that little issue that we were having there. And I still have to inspect these speakers because this one's been going in and out, but that's a connection problem. I do believe it's just the connector on the back is just loose. So we're going to pull that out and look at that later. But either way, we got the regulator fixed up here, and the window goes up and down fluidly nice. And we ended up repairing something that we weren't expecting to repair today, which was our door handle. So we ended up replacing we're putting this reinforcement in here, so we won't have any issues with this door handle breaking off anymore, hopefully. You can see, remember before I told you this is a dormant handle, so it has been replaced. Obviously, it's been replaced because somebody's been pulling on it a little bit too hard, so we may end up having to change a cable at a later day. However, the door was starting to fatigue and wear, so we want to make sure that we catch this before that door completely fails, and that gives us that much more reinforcement here to make this a lot stronger. So I hope that this video helps you guys out in repairing your window that won't go up anymore, and also even to repair a door handle that doesn't quite feel right, or even if you're breaking door handles. This is usually the problem. However, if you're still breaking door handles and you have this reinforcement, your cable is your problem. So replace that cable and you won't have any more problems as long as everything's aligned correctly. You don't have this latch being stressed out or anything like that where it doesn't want to let go. So these are the two main culprits for these doors not opening, for the main reason for these door handles breaking off, because you actually physically, the plastic is meant to, not give, so to speak. So, it just snaps off instead of bending. So you guys replace them with the metal handles all the time, saying that that's a fix, when in reality it's not a fix, it's a Band-Aid. You're just making it harder to break, even though guys still break the metal ones. I've actually never broken a door handle in any of these trucks over the hundreds of thousands of miles that I've put on them. So showed you a fix for this and a possible fix if that doesn't do it for you. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you do enjoy seeing these videos, please like and subscribe to the channel. And, if somebody might benefit from these videos, please share them out. Send them away. Show them to anybody, if it'll help them out. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.